Figured I might as well make a video on this stuff, even if it's not classes that I'm really interested in, just because I love talking about class stuff. Absolutely love this. This is my favorite thing that they're showing off in War Within, and it's been a while. I did a video on the Blood Death Knight stuff. Obviously, that's what most of you guys would be here for, but I do have a lot of interest in leveling challenges, world content, like challenges, like playing classes outside of PvE, like competitive endgame, but adding challenges to them to make the interesting parts of the playthrough of the the characters like play style more powerful, more important. And I really want hero talents to be something that I do like have something that is a part of that. These three are actually probably the best ones I've seen in terms of the six that we've got. I think it's six now. And yeah, Blood DK is definitely my favorite, but I don't know how good it is. I don't know how rich it is. It's very like Sandland is very nice and it sounds like it would be great. But yeah, a lot of people raise concerns to me about the play style it's going to promote, and I don't know if I'm going to love it. But anyway, these are three that I likely will like, and I just like the theme of them. All right, Dark Ranger is definitely my favorite of all of them, like without question of all of them. And I've always wanted this to be a thing again for marksmanship. It's BM and marksman. I don't think BM, like the Dark Ranger concept, makes sense with the BM hunter, to be honest, but marksman absolutely. Obviously, you got to have one. You can't just have one. So yeah, Black Arrow back. 30-second CD. Fire a black arrow into your target, causing it to take shadow damage. Each time the arrow takes damage or you deals damage, you have a chance to reset the cooldown on aim shot or barb shot. Now, I don't know anything about BM Hunter, but I have played marksman a fair amount. I did it a bunch in Torghast and recently for a leveling challenge. And resetting the cooldown on aim shot would be huge. I don't know anything about barb shot, but I don't think it's a very long cooldown. So I don't know anything about these. I'm not really going to read all these, but I do want to say my thoughts on this. That Black Arrow, probably the coolest spell that was removed. In fact, in Legion, I believe it was Legion, it used to summon a little ad. If you guys never played Warcraft 3, Black Arrow was in a spell that Sylvanas' ranger hero had. And yeah, whenever you killed a mob with it, it would spawn a skeleton that was yours to command for a short while, I believe. This is not that, but hey, it's really cool. And Black Arrow was something that's been in the game, I think, since like TBC or maybe Wrath or something. So, um, the three things we're going to show today are really hammering that home. Whereas like the Blood DK one didn't do that at all. It did not return anything that I would like to have seen returned. That may not be the tree for that, frankly, based on the name. Sandland, obviously a wholly new concept. But I was disappointed to see Paladin and a warrior basically not return, especially Paladin and no blessings. It's kind of interesting because then we're gonna look at priest. But I'm very satisfied with this. I don't know anything about this. I don't know if this is gonna be powerful for people. If people think it'll be good for hunter, or for BM hunter more than marksmanship hunter. But all I know is Black Arrow's back. Love a spell that is seemingly a no cast time, short CD spell. Plays perfectly in world content, and it's another dot, which I do love. So I'm very interested in seeing what the visuals of things look like, though, because if you guys didn't, hear about this, like it's going to be a lot of visuals. There's going to be a lot of that too. So I'm very excited about, what might come for the like flavor of it all. And Dark Ranger is definitely number one for me. Now we have Frostfire. This is probably the one I'm most excited about, even though the one I was most anticipating was Dark Ranger. This concept I think is probably the one I'm most happy with so far. Frostfire is a concept that was kind of been the game for a really long time. I think it was Wrath that they added Frostfire Bolt, and then the idea permeated through Cataclysm, I believe. And I don't know if it made it past Cataclysm. I don't know when they got rid of this, but I will tell you, both the icon and the spell actual of Frostfire Bolt is the spell that I probably like the most that is not in the game currently, just in that visual sense. So when I see Frostfire Bolt on the thing, I immediately think, man, if I played a mage, I definitely want to try Frostfire Bolt. Launches a bolt of Frostfire at the enemy, dealing damage, slowing the movement speed, and causing additional Frostfire damage. So it's basically a combination of Frost Bolt and Fireball. The one puts a dot on, the other one slows. Now this does both. Obviously, it's not like it used to be. Back in the day, you did not have these harsh specializations. Like you could be a hybrid of both. And I think that's what they're doing here. And that's why I like it so much. It seems like you're going to be using a lot of frost spells as a fire mage or vice versa. because your damaging fire spells generate 1 stack of fire mastery, and frost spells generate 1 stack of frost mastery. Fire mastery increases your haste by 1%, and frost mastery increases your mastery by 1%, stacking up to 8 times each. Adding stacks does not refresh the duration. So this tells me it sounds almost like a little bit like a Windwalker thing, where you're kind of pretty much pressing a different spell constantly. But I could be wrong about that. This is a tuning nightmare, it sounds like, to be honest. And all I know is what it looks like on paper is very, very interesting, because then you see things like this where you have fire specialization gets a cooldown of frost spells is reduced by 10%. Now, currently, they don't really have, like, what would they do? Frostfire Bolt, is that considered a frost spell? Because, like, they have Frost Bolt, but they would lose that for this, like, type of talent tree. So then they have, I guess, Cone of Cold is still in the game. I don't actually know what talents and what's not for mages anymore, but they've always had Cone of Cold, and they've always had Frost Nova, and I think that's literally it. I don't think they would get Blizzard. I don't know what spells would be reduced. So this probably leads me to believe that there would be a big change in what class spells are available now. Or maybe I'm just completely out of touch and I have no idea what isn't available. That's very likely too. But yeah, then we come down here and see this stuff. I love this concept here. Excess Frost. We'll start on the left. Fire reaching maximum stacks of Frost Mastery causes your next Phoenix Flames to also cast Ice Nova. Now, I have no idea what Ice Nova is. I assume it's a Frost Mage spell. When you consume excess frost, the cooldown of Meteor is reduced by 5 seconds. So, like, you think about this as all of these things together, right? And when you hear that, you're like, oh, you're going to be probably casting a lot of frost spells, right? Because that's what you get as fire. And then as frost, you get maximum of frost mastery. Now, it says frost for both, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it would be, I think it's a typo, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's meant to be frost mastery for fire and fire mastery for frost, but we don't know for sure because there's a typo. Reaching maximum stacks of frost. Oh no, maybe I'm just totally wrong about that. It's not a typo. It's just because it's excess frost. Okay, yeah. So that's just not my fault. My fault there. Reaching maximum stacks of frost mastery causes your next flurry to also cast Ice Nova at 200% effectiveness. Okay, so yeah, you're basically going to have both of these, obviously. So you should, just look at it from the perspective of one spec. So fire would have that, and then from excess fire, reaching maximum stacks of fire mastery causes your next fire blast to apply a living bomb at 150% effectiveness. And these are both AOE spells, to my knowledge. Ice Nova sounds like it would be an AOE spell. When the living bomb explodes, reduce the cooldown of Phoenix Flames by 10 seconds. So yeah, it sounds like both of these play in together extremely well. I love the concept of this mastery thing. Maybe people will hate it. I don't know. Frankly, the people who play Fire Mage confuse the hell out of me anyway, so I don't know if people will like it or not. All I know is that if these were in the game right now, I would be immediately doing a leveling challenge, probably a naked leveling challenge as a Fire Mage, and trying to see what it looks like, because I absolutely adore the concept of a Fire Mage using frost spells as a core part of their rotation. I've always loved it. I'd have no idea why. It doesn't like sound good or anything, but it's just very interesting. So yeah, definitely those two DPS specs are very, very unique, and I think they'll be very interesting for the flavor of those talents. Now we have this Oracle, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, Wowhead is doing the thing they do here. Let me just go ahead and show you this here, because I frankly do not support this. I do not like this when they do this, but they're doing it. Priest tripling down on power infusion. They know what they're doing with that. They're putting that in because they know it's going to be an inflammatory thing that will get more people to click it. Frankly, I don't know why you would do that on a WoW-based news website, because everybody's going to fucking click it anyway. Like, this is the biggest news we've had in months. So yeah, I don't really like that. But hey, anyway, here's what they're actually doing. They're actually not. I mean, in my opinion, they're not tripling down on power infusion. What they're doing is making power infusion more flexible and more usable. Premonition, and this is a really, 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 really cool part about this, okay? This is the Oracle tree. This is for only Holy or Disc. So this is not for Shadow. So all this stuff you're about to see is not going to be present as a DPS. You cannot get this. And I love that, because this is the only class in the game that has 2 healing specs. And if there was a class that had 2 tanking specs, I think you'd get some really, really, really cool stuff. But they basically are turning priests into old school paladins with this. I love this concept. This is similar to what we saw with the Fae thing from the Night Fae, okay? And I love that. A lot of people don't like it because all they care about is like competing on some third-party website above the game, and they don't really care about the RPG elements of it. But buffing each other is huge. I love this. This is my favorite thing about WoW. WoW's PvE kind of, fabric. And I love seeing this come for only the healing specs. So every 1 minute, which power infusion is longer than a minute, I believe it's 2 minutes. Am I wrong about that? You guys can tell me. Divine the future and gain access to a spell that gives you an advantage against your fate. Now, I don't immediately see how this gets chosen, but basically, you either get Solace, increases your target's healing received by 25% for 10 seconds. Insight increases your target's magic damage dealt by 10% for 10 seconds, or Glory increases your target's physical damage dealt. So, yes, you would have to know which is the best, and you would have to choose based on the situation, seemingly. Somebody in Discord brought it up that it could be random. It could be like Blessing of Seasons where it alternates. I could just be missing it. It might say here, I have no idea. But I love what the rest of the tree is doing for the actual healing spells. This is almost like tangential. It feels like it's actually just not. Like they're not the same tree. Because then down here we have increases the damage absorbed by Power Word Shield by 10% and the healing done by Prayer Mending by 10%. Very passive. But we continue to see Power Word Shield applies 1 stack of Prayer Mending. Prayer Mending casts apply a Power Word Shield to your target at 20% effective. When your Power Word Shield is fully absorbed or your Prayer Mending heals, gain a stack of Grand Reveal. At 150 stacks, gain an additional charge of Premonition. So it means you get another buff, another 10-second buff. Premonition has a low chance to grant you Clairvoyance. Grants your target and 2 nearby allies all the effects of Premonition at 100% effectiveness. I guess now that we're reading this, it makes me think like maybe it just automatically puts this on based on the type of player. But I don't know, like, if you put it on me as a Death Knight, I don't know which one I want. Like, I really don't. I mean, magic damage would be most of our damage on AoE. Physical damage would be most of our damage on single target. And Solace would be the thing that I'd probably want the most to survive. So I don't know how it chooses. But yeah, increase the duration of Atonement by 1 second and increase the duration of Renew by 3 seconds. I love the concepts, man. Holy priests, like priest spells in general that are been in the game for like 20 years, I love them. I really do. Very nostalgic, maybe, but priest used to be like the only healer. Now you see this here reduces the cooldown of Purify by 2 seconds. This is the first time we've seen a healer, right? Am I wrong about this? Purify is the magic dispel that they have. Is that correct? So will we see this kind of thing more frequently? This is a choice node, and that does not seem balanced at all. But it's very interesting because I like the imbalance of it. Because if you do not need to actually dispel things, then you don't need to take the talent. I really like that. People always say that they should not have interrupts as part of the talent tree because it's a talent you have to take, but that's incorrect. I mean, you can watch Resto Druids play. They are optional, and that's for a good reason because there may be situations where you do not need an interrupt. So now you have an additional talent point that would have not been balanced around having before. I love that, but obviously I'm taking an interrupt no matter what I'm doing in Mythic Plus. But yeah, I love all these things. Pain suppression, reduce the damage taken by an additional 10%. Guardian Spirit lasts an additional 2 seconds. Presumably, like, all things that are going to help the priest heal more. Seems like almost not finished based on the way that these ones are so different than the middle. But yeah, really, 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 really like this. You could either reduce the cooldown by 10 seconds or can now trigger the brilliance and urgency effects. Restores 5% of your target's mana and also increases your target's haste. So probably one or the other. I just don't know how it's going to work, obviously, but I love the concept. So you guys tell me, if you had this and you got 12% haste and 10% magic damage for 10, well, it's going to be actually 12 seconds if you take this. Effect is increased by 30% if the divine spell is different than the previous premonition. So yeah, I'm just not seeing how it picks it. But let's just say for 12 seconds, you have those 2 buffs. Is that better than Power Infusion? I don't see how it wouldn't be, considering it's a 1-minute CD. And then I think there's, like, we're talking about extra uses of it constantly. I read somewhere that there's the lower, right? Was it here? But either way, Yeah, and then you're gonna grant to 2 other people. Like, this is just fucking crazy. You're gonna be buffing people like crazy. It sounds like it's gonna be a huge part. And you know why I'm excited about this? Because it sounds cool, first of all. I love the fact that they have double healer. Like, that's not something I thought about when we were thinking about this being a healer only option, because it brings some fucking utility. This spec is just all over the place with its utility. And honestly, the people who decry power infusion, you're basically just getting the spec nerfed into the ground when you get rid of the spell. Like, power infusion is like one of two things that the spec is valuable for now. Mass Dispel being the other thing, and they nerfed the hell out of that. So I love this. I think this is the way you keep this spec relevant. If you do not have an interrupt or your standard, AoE stuns or knockbacks or all these other things that every other healer offers, you got to give them unique utility. And right now, they're the only spec in the game that's doing anything like this at all. And honestly, dude, like, it's fucking cool. Like, people keep talking about support, and they should do another support DPS. They should do, more specs like Ogboker. Well, here you go. This is it. They didn't need to change Holy or Disc. They just gave them this shit. They basically are making Power Infusion a much more versatile buff that you're going to put on people constantly. How it plays out, I have no idea. But I'm telling you, these three have really gripped me. They really are interesting to me. I love the Blood DK one. The Sandlane one sounds great, but these are really compelling. And I'm actually really impressed because they're very different, very unique. Not what I expected at all, especially considering, Dark Ranger and Frostfire have such, like, there's already stuff there. And they could have just kind of rested on their laurels a bit, but they've exceeded my expectations. So let me know what you guys think about this. I just want to let you guys know that I don't know what's going on with the stream right now. A lot's going on in real life, and frankly, I'm not in a good space mentally. I try not to talk about this stuff too often, but I'm just letting you know because I don't know when I'm going to stream again. I do have now, this is one, and then I have two further videos already recorded. So I'm going to try to spread those out, but I think, just stay tuned. I'm sorry, but I hopefully we'll be back soon. So let me know what your thoughts are on this, though. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. We'll see you guys soon.